Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin.
At the very edge of all that we can see, there lies a boundary so quiet, so unyielding, that it feels almost like the edge of a dream. Astronomers call it the cosmic horizon, the farthest point from which light has had time to reach us since the birth of the universe. Imagine standing on a silent shore, watching waves of light and time wash gently toward you, each wave carrying memories of galaxies long past. Beyond that horizon, there may be endless seas of stars, galaxies, and perhaps even realms we can never touch. It is a horizon not of land or sea, but of light itself, a quiet frontier where knowledge stops and wonder begins. To reach it is impossible, for the universe expands faster than our steps could ever travel, but to think of it is to let the mind float outward, gently drifting on currents of possibility. The universe began nearly 13.8 billion years ago, in a moment so small and dense that every star, planet, and galaxy was folded into a seed smaller than an atom. As it expanded, space itself stretched, and light began its long journey outward. That light has been traveling ever since, weaving the story of time into the fabric of the cosmos. Yet because the speed of light is finite, there are places whose light has not yet reached us. Those places are not gone, nor are they empty. They simply lie outside the bubble of visibility that encases us like a fragile crystal sphere. We call this sphere the observable universe. It is vast, nearly 93 billion light-years across, but it is still only a part of something larger, something greater than our minds can fully grasp. When you look at the night sky, the stars you see are not where they are now, but where they once were. Their light takes years, centuries, sometimes even millennia to reach us. That means every glance at the sky is also a glance back in time, a reminder that the heavens are a moving memory etched into darkness. Imagine a galaxy, its arms curling in luminous spirals, shining from billions of light years away. The photons that now fall gently into your eyes left that galaxy before our planet even existed, before Earth had cooled, before oceans had formed. To see them is to see into deep time, a window into the history of everything. But beyond the deepest galaxies our telescopes can reveal, there is darkness, not because nothing is there, but because light has not yet arrived. This darkness is not absence, but mystery. Scientists believe that beyond the observable universe, space stretches endlessly, carrying within it more galaxies than grains of sand on all the shores of Earth. Each one may hold suns, planets, perhaps even life, though none of their light will ever meet our eyes. We can only imagine them, drifting like whispers beyond reach. Some theories suggest that the universe might be infinite, without edge, like a vast ocean in which our observable bubble is just one small ripple. Others wonder if space could curve back upon itself, like the surface of a sphere, so that if you traveled far enough, you might return to where you began. These possibilities lie beyond proof, suspended in the quiet of the unknown. And yet the very thought of what lies beyond is a kind of gentle meditation. It asks us to sit still under the stars and listen to the silence between them, to close your eyes and imagine space unfolding endlessly, like a great fabric without seam or border, to think of light as tiny messengers, carrying with them the news of galaxies, while countless other messages still rush toward us but will never arrive. Beyond the observable universe may lie truths forever hidden, but in their hiddenness they give birth to wonder. The shore we cannot cross becomes a place where imagination sails freely, where the mind is allowed to drift and dream. The cosmic microwave background, a faint glow that fills all of space, is the oldest light we can see. It is the afterglow of the Big Bang, stretched thin and cold by billions of years of expansion. This faint radiation is a map of the universe as it was when it was only 380,000 years old, long before stars were born. It whispers to us of beginnings, of a time when everything was dense and hot, when matter and energy swirled like a mist of possibility. Looking at this light is like hearing the echo of a lullaby sung at the dawn of time. And even this light, the farthest signal we can detect, is still only a veil. Beyond it lies an unseeable expanse where galaxies wait unseen, forever beyond the reach of our instruments. The expansion of the universe makes this horizon even more mysterious. Space itself is stretching, carrying galaxies away faster than light can travel. Beyond a certain distance, their light can never catch up to us. This means that the observable universe is not just a limit of time, but a limit of space itself. Imagine standing on a shoreline watching a ship sail away. If the ship sails fast enough, faster than the waves can carry their reflections back. To you, it will disappear not because it is gone, but because its light can no longer return. So it is with galaxies beyond the cosmic horizon. They drift away forever, their existence certain yet unreachable. To think about what lies beyond is to think about infinity. Infinity is not a number but a feeling, a sense of something without end, without boundary. It is like standing in a field of tall grass and knowing it stretches far beyond the horizon, even though you cannot see it. Or listening to the sound of the ocean at night, knowing the waves continue far past where your ears can follow. The universe, too, may be infinite, filled with wonders beyond count. And in this infinity, our place is both small and precious, a speck of awareness floating in an endless sea. What lies beyond the observable universe may never be known, but perhaps it is not knowledge we need, but the comfort of wonder. For wonder is a kind of quiet companionship, a reminder that we are not alone in the vastness, but part of something immeasurable. As we look outward, we also look inward into the spaces of our own imagination. The horizon becomes not a barrier, but a mirror, showing us the shape of our curiosity, the softness of our longing. And so we sit under the stars, listening to the silence, feeling the gentle pull of mystery and letting the unknowable cradle us to rest. Imagine a child standing at the edge of a tide pool and learning that the pool is not the ocean, even though it keeps the same salt on the tongue and mirrors the same round moon. Our observable universe is that bright basin, complete in its own way, ringed by rocks of time, alive with darting forms and soft currents, while the larger ocean rolls on beyond the rim. The pool has a floor you can map with your toes. The ocean has a floor you may never touch. Yet the ear hears a steady roar from the far water, and the skin feels a breath of wind from beyond the rocks. And in that quiet mixing of signs, the mind learns a gentle truth. Knowing the pool does not empty the sea. The boundary that matters most is not drawn in stone, it is drawn in time, by how far light has walked since everything began. We stand where the steps of light have ended for now, and we look outward like watchers at dawn, certain there is more day beyond the ridge than the rays already lighting the stones at our feet. Scientists listened to the edge of the pool and read its ripples like handwriting. The faint, mottled glow of the oldest light, the cosmic microwave background, is not perfectly smooth. It is as if someone breathed on a window on a winter morning and left a field of tiny speckles. A little warmer here, a little cooler there, differences so small you might miss them if you blinked. Those freckles are the first agreements gravity made with itself, the seed patterns from which galaxies and clusters would grow. When we mapped them, we read the early weather of the universe, and by reading that weather, we learn how the air must be blowing just beyond our view. The ripples tell us that space is nearly flat and that its early history included a swift, smoothing swell. They tell us that matter and light were once coupled like dancers moving to the same rhythm, then let go and drifted apart, leaving a memory of the steps pressed into the sky. Because space itself expands, there is more than one kind of horizon to consider. One is a horizon of the past, the farthest light that has had time to arrive since the beginning. That is the boundary of what has sent us any message at all. Another is a horizon of the future, set by the universe's acceleration, a limit beyond which signals launched today will never reach us, no matter how patient we are. Dark energy, a gentle pressure woven through space, nudges the expansion to quicken. Far enough away, galaxies are carried outward by the growth of space faster than their light can bridge the widening gap. That does not break the rule of light speed. It is the fabric itself that stretches between us. Imagine lanterns drifting on a river that begins to run more swiftly between you and the boats. Their glow is real, Their cargo is real, but the current carries them so that the water between you keeps growing faster than their reflections can return. If we cannot chase the lanterns, we can still read the river. Within our visible bubble, the galaxies arrange themselves with a subtle and ancient rhythm. In the hot early universe, pressure waves rang through the plasma like the tone of a bell or the swell of a low drum. Those waves left a preferred spacing in how galaxies cluster today, a faint yardstick called baryon acoustic oscillations. By measuring that spacing across the sky and at different depths in time, astronomers trace how the cosmos has stretched. It is like finding the tempo of a song and realizing that the room you are in has grown larger while the melody was playing. The drum beat is quiet, but it is steady, and its echo gives us a scowl. Against which to weigh what we cannot touch. Even the way supernovae brighten and fade adds lines to the staff of this music, helping us hear that the expansion is not only ongoing, but also gently speeding. Even inside our tide pool, most of the scaffolding is hidden from sight. Dark matter neither shines nor dims the light by eating it, yet it threads the universe like roots beneath a forest floor. We do not see the roots directly, we learn them by the way the trees stand and bend. Galaxies gather where the roots are dense. They spiral, collide, and weave long filaments like dew-strung strands across a meadow at first light. To map the roots, we watch how they bend the paths of background light in a soft, glassy warping called gravitational lensing. The pictures look like puddles reflecting a grid that has been slightly pushed and pulled. From those distortions, we draw the quiet bones of the sky. And when we compare those bones to the freckles in the oldest light, we find a rhyme. The same seed ripples that once hummed through the young plasma now guide the grown forest of galaxies. The universe speaks in messengers beyond light. Neutrinos, shy and almost weightless, pass through mountains as a breeze passes through grass. They carry news from the first seconds after the beginning, faint but honest. Gravitational waves, ripples in spacetime itself, slide across the dark like the lowest note of a cello, telling of black holes entwining and stars collapsing into tighter songs. We have begun to hear those notes, and they have already taught us that the night is more musical than we knew. One day we may catch an even older chorus, waves from the first breath of inflation, a fossil rhythm frozen into the sky. If we do, the recording will not show us pictures of what lies beyond, but it will hum the key in which that beyond is written. The more instruments we add, the more kinds of senses we give ourselves, the more softly and clearly the world answers. There is a kindness in what we see. On the grandest scales, the night looks the same in every direction. This evenness is not a dull sameness. It is a promise that the rules you learn in one valley will work in the next. The cosmological principle, dressed in simple clothes, says that no direction is special and no faraway place sits on a throne. You can walk north or south, and the grass will still be grass. That assumption lets us extend our inferences beyond the horizon with a calm hand. If a field is level wherever you have walked it, you may fairly suppose the part you have not walked is level too, unless there is a reason to think otherwise. The sky offers no loud reason to doubt. Its tiny asymmetries are like the harmless wavering of candlelight. They enrich the scene without overturning the table. Still, curiosity enjoys asking whether the field might gently tilt somewhere far away. Could there be regions beyond our view where the mixture of matter and energy is a shade different, where galaxies string themselves in looser garlands or gather in thicker knots? If such patches exist, they must be rare and modest, because the oldest light would have tattled more loudly if the differences were wild. It did whisper a few puzzles, little alignments and low notes that invite a second look, but the tune remains steady. The river meanders, it does not leap its banks. Thinking about these possibilities is not a way to torment ourselves with gaps. It is a way to leave room for the world to be slightly more varied than our maps. Wonder handled gently is not a worry. It is a warmth you carry to the window when the night is quiet. Time itself ties our seeing together. As space stretches, light is lengthened. Wavelengths slide from blue to red, from visible to invisible, and a once fiery glow cools into a soft microwave hush. Redshift is the universe lowering its voice as distance grows. The farther a message has traveled, the more its syllables have become long and sleepy, as if told beside a campfire at the end of a long walk. Light that would reach us from beyond the horizon would be stretched forever, the note drawn out until it becomes silence. That silence is not emptiness, it is the mark of the current's speed. Listening to the notes we can still hear, we reconstruct the shape of the song, and we accept with a peaceful nod that some of its measures are written on pages we cannot turn. We often picture the beyond as a place on a map, but it is also a relationship between cause and effect. In the young universe, regions now far apart were once neighbors close enough to share heat, to trade motion, to settle together into a near-uniform calm. Inflation lifted them apart like seeds carried by a sudden gust, freezing their agreement across vast separations. Our horizon is the limit of who could have spoken to us since then, not the limit of what exists. When we look at the evenness of the oldest light, we are looking at a conversation that ended early and poorly. Teli, a handshake preserved in amber. The same handshake reappears in the way galaxies gather and in the steady beat of the ancient drum. What lies beyond the observable universe is therefore not likely to be chaos. It is more likely to be more room for the same gentle rules to play, more space for the same grammar to write verses in a different order. The meaning of all this for small, breathing lives is not abstract. The calcium in your bones and the iron in your blood were forged in stars that followed the same rules we watch in remote galaxies. Those stars gathered where invisible roots were thick, lit by gravity's patient pull. Planets cooled at distances where warmth could hold water still enough for memory to form. On at least one such planet, chemistry learned to keep a record of itself, and memory learned to ask questions under a sky it could never finish reading. To think about horizons is to feel that our bodies and our questions both belong to the same wide story. The constants that let a star burn and a cell divide seem to hold their value wherever we test them. This steadiness gives us confidence that the kindness we find here is not an accident of a dress, but a feature of the style in which the universe writes itself. To feel the shape of what you cannot visit, it helps to walk the edges you can. Deserts teach this lesson with dunes that repeat like breathing, each crest a near copy of the last, each valley carrying the same soft wind. Hike long enough and your stride becomes a kind of prediction. Astronomers walk the sky in this way. They measure distance by the stretch of light. They learn a star's age by the color of its fire. They weigh clusters by the slant they impose on background lines. With each pattern they confirm nearby, they gain a quieter confidence about the pattern far away. The pool widens as more light arrives, but it also deepens as we learn how the reflections behave. Our knowledge grows like dawn, first on the highest peaks, then down the slopes, and at last across the meadows, not by leaps, but by a steady brightening that feels like kindness. There is humility, too, in the shape of our limits. No telescope can gather light that has not had time to arrive. No craft can outpace the fabric that carries distant shores away. Yet limits free us to practice a slower, tender science. We build instruments to catch the faintest glow. We watch supernovae brighten and fade like fireflies in the far grass. We listen for the low chords of space-time as black holes join in dark weddings. We weigh webs of galaxies by the way their presence bends what lies behind them. And we accept without bitterness that some rooms will not open to us, while trusting that the same carpentry holds on both sides of the door. The unknown is not a threat in this posture. It is a neighbor separated by a quiet hedge, whose singing you can hear at night. If we could step outside our observable bubble and look back, we would not see a sharp rim. We would see a fading of messages, a thinning of stories, like ink becoming paler at the edge of a page. Inside, galaxies thread themselves into filaments and knots. Outside, more of the same likely lies in patience. The bubble expands with time as new light makes the long crossing and joins our pool. We do not drain anything by seeing it, we simply add its reflection to the basin. That slow growth is lovely to watch. It teaches us that understanding is a season, not a switch. Even as the universe's acceleration promises that some shores will remain forever over the curve, the nearer shoals and capes continue to appear, and each one teaches us something gentle about the way the coastline bends. Some ideas stretch even farther and ask us to imagine that inflation did more than widen one room. Perhaps it blew a foam of rooms like bubbles in a glass, each with its own quiet tune for the same set of notes. In such a multiverse, our observable world would be one comfortable parlor among many, alike in structure but trimmed in different fabrics. We do not know whether this picture is true, and we may never know for certain. Its value, handled softly, is to keep us from thinking that our home is the only place the music could play. It invites humility without taking away the warmth of belonging. It says, "Let your map be local and your welcome be wide." Near dawn anywhere, the stars thin and the line of the horizon melts into day. The edge is still there, but it blends with sky and wind, and you accept it without needing to step past it. That is how the cosmic horizon may live with us. It is not a wall, it is a blending set by time and by a current we cannot reverse. The longer we listen, the more we learn to hear the harmony between what is seen and what is inferred, between the pool we can touch and the sea we can only hear. What lies beyond the observable universe is probably more of the same, written in verses we cannot read. That is not a sorrow, it is a comfort. Like a lullaby carried through a half-open door, familiar melody, softened by distance, promising that the house is larger than the room where you fall asleep. Beyond the circle of light we can see, there is a deeper silence that we cannot measure. It is a silence made not of nothingness, but of distance so great that light itself has not yet had time to close it. The observable universe is our lantern in this darkness, its flame flickering with the glow of galaxies and the afterglow of the Big Bang. Yet just beyond that faint sphere lies a mystery that is no less real for being hidden. To imagine it is to imagine walking through a forest at night with only a small lamp in your hand. The trees you see are lit in gentle detail, but you know that countless others surround you in the dark, swaying quietly beyond the lamp's circle. You cannot name them, but you can feel their presence, the forest breathing in and out, holding more life than your eyes can gather. The universe is that forest, vast and unending, filled with whispers we cannot yet hear. If we could see beyond, what might greet us? Perhaps it would be more of the same. Galaxies spun into filaments, clusters woven like lace, threads of dark matter tying the web together. The laws of physics we know seem unbroken wherever we test them, suggesting that the music continues smoothly with no sudden discord beyond our hearing. Yet there is also the chance of difference, subtle or profound. Could there be regions where the density of matter is slightly altered, where stars burn with a slightly different rhythm, where time itself flows with a different cadence? Some theories say that inflation, the early swelling of space, may have produced endless cosmic domains, each one a bubble of reality with its own balance of ingredients. If so, our observable universe would be just one chamber in a vast cathedral of worlds, each singing a variation on the same eternal song. The thought of this multiverse is not offered as proof, but as possibility. It is like wondering how many seas lie beyond the horizon when you stand at the edge of a bay. You cannot see them, but the wind carries scents of salt and the waves speak of a vaster ocean. Even if those other cosmic chambers exist, we may never travel to them, for the barriers between are not of stone but of space itself, stretched so wide that no bridge could be built. Still, the thought of them humbles us, softens us, makes us realize that our home is precious, not because it is the only one, but because it is the one that cradles us. To imagine many worlds is not to diminish this one, but to remind ourselves that existence is larger than any measure we can hold. And if beyond our horizon lies not difference but infinity, if the universe is boundless and without edge, then our observable bubble is simply a patch on a limitless quilt. Every pattern we see here repeats endlessly, galaxies woven in threads without end. Infinity is not an easy idea to hold. It does not fit in the hands like a stone or flow like water into a cup. Instead, it hangs in the air like the sky itself, too wide to grasp, yet always overhead. To think of infinity is to feel both small and vast, a single note in a choir that stretches beyond hearing, yet belonging fully to the song. It is a thought that soothes more than it troubles, for in infinity, loss is softened. Every star that fades is mirrored by countless others still burning. Every silence is balanced by uncountable voices still singing. What lies beyond is also shaped by the expansion that carries everything apart. The galaxies we see near the horizon today are already slipping beyond it, drawn away by space itself, expanding faster than their light can travel back to us. To know this is to accept that the universe is not static but flowing, not a picture frozen but a river always moving. Beyond our reach, new regions drift forever away, carrying their stories into silence. This may seem like loss, but it is also a gentle truth. We are not meant to know everything. Just as a lullaby leaves some verses unsung so that the child can drift into dreams, the universe leaves us mysteries beyond our grasp so that our minds can wander in wonder without end. In the end, the boundary of the observable universe is not a wall but a mirror. It reflects back to us our own curiosity, our longing to understand what cannot be seen. It reminds us that limits are not failures but invitations to imagine. When we lie under the stars and feel the pull of the unknown, we are participating in something ancient and universal, the human instinct to dream beyond the horizon. Every question we ask stretches the circle of our lamp a little farther, even as the darkness remains infinite. We will never light the whole forest, but perhaps we are not meant to. Perhaps it is enough to know that the forest is there, breathing quietly around us, holding mysteries that will always outnumber answers. So we rest in the know. Double-edged that beyond our horizon, the universe continues. Whether infinite or bubbled into many domains, whether familiar or strange, it is there, expanding into silence. Our role is not to conquer it, but to listen, to let its mystery calm us like the sound of waves against the shore. The observable universe is a gift, a bubble of light in which life can ask questions, sing songs, and dream of what lies beyond. To imagine the unseen is not to solve it, but to be soothed by it, to let its immensity cradle us like a gentle tide. And so we close our eyes, letting the darkness beyond the stars lull us into quiet, feeling at once very small and deeply connected, part of a story too vast to finish, but too beautiful to end. There are places in the universe where light is swallowed whole, where even the brightest stars cannot escape the embrace of darkness. These are the black holes, silent wells carved into space-time itself, regions so strange that the normal language of distance and time bends and falters. To think of them is to think of echoes, for even though they emit no light of their own, they speak through gravity, through ripples, through the trembling of matter that dares draw near. Beyond the observable universe, there may be countless such dark giants, their presence hinted only by the patterns they leave in the cosmos. And here, within the reach of our telescopes, we listen for their whispers, like seashells held to the ear, that murmur of unseen oceans. A black hole begins with the death of a massive star. When its fuel is gone, the furnace that held it up against gravity fades and the star collapses inward under its own weight. The collapse does not stop. It folds and folds again until all its matter is crushed into a point of infinite density, a singularity wrapped by an event horizon. This horizon is not a surface in the ordinary sense, but a one-way boundary in time. Once crossed, no message can return. Imagine falling into a canyon so deep that no shout can climb back to the edge, no echo can return to the ears above. That is the silence of a black hole, an end not of existence but of communication. Yet even as they hold their secrets, black holes shape the universe around them, their presence traced by the arcs of stars, by the glow of gas spiraling into their depths. At the centers of galaxies, supermassive black holes anchor entire star systems. The one at the heart of our Milky Way is called Sagittarius A*, a quiet giant with a mass of 4 million suns. Around it, stars orbit in dizzying curves, some completing their journeys in mere decades, a blink in cosmic time. Watching them, astronomers confirm what mathematics foretold, that only something as dense and compact as a black hole could hold them in such orbits. Yet this darkness is not silent in every way. As matter falls inward, it heats, glows, and sometimes shoots jets of radiation that pierce millions of light years through space. These are the echoes from the dark beyond, voices of energy escaping just before the horizon swallows the rest. There are also gravitational waves, ripples in spacetime itself, that carry news from the dance of black holes. When two black holes spiral together, their final embrace shakes the very fabric of the cosmos, sending waves that ripple outward like circles spreading across a pond. In 2015, humans first heard these faint vibrations with instruments delicate enough to notice shifts smaller than the width of a proton. It was as though the universe had spoken in a new tongue, a low and resonant hum that confirmed what Einstein had imagined a century before. Each detection since has been another echo, telling us that even in silence, black holes converse with the cosmos, leaving behind soft signatures for us to find. Beyond the observable universe, beyond the reach of our instruments, countless more black holes must exist. They are born wherever stars are born, and stars are born in numbers so great that no human mind can count them. Imagine standing in a meadow at night, fireflies blinking in every direction. For each point of light, there may one day be a collapse, a fading, and the birth of darkness. Multiply that meadow by the number of galaxies in the sky, and then multiply again for those we cannot see, and you begin to imagine the true abundance of black holes. They are not rare monsters, but common outcomes, woven into the life cycles of stars, balancing creation with dissolution in the quiet rhythm of the cosmos. Even though no light escapes from within, black holes glow faintly through a strange process. Quantum physics suggests that at their horizons, pairs of particles can emerge, one falling inward, the other escaping outward. This slow leak of energy is known as Hawking radiation. Over immense timescales, longer than the current age of the universe by many magnitudes, black holes may evaporate completely, their mass radiated away into the cold night of space. This idea is theoretical, yet it offers a poetic reversal. What once was thought eternal may fade, not with an explosion but with a whisper. It is another echo from the dark, a reminder that even the most secretive of cosmic bodies cannot hold silence forever. Black holes challenge our notions of time. To an outside observer, an object falling toward the event horizon appears to slow, its light stretched to red, fading into darkness but never quite vanishing. To the falling traveler, however, time continues and the horizon is crossed without pause. Two truths coexist. From outside, the fall seems eternal. From inside, it is swift. This duality reminds us that time is not absolute but relative, shaped by the curves of space-time. It is a lesson that the cosmos whispers through these dark teachers. That reality is wider than a single perspective. That truth itself may have layers like the petals of a flower opening in the night. There is something deeply calming about knowing that even in silence, the universe finds ways to speak. The galaxies turn, the stars pulse, the gas clouds glow, and in their turning and pulsing and glowing, they reveal the invisible hands that guide them. Black holes are such hands, unseen yet shaping, silent yet resonant. They are the guardians of the night, the keepers of mysteries beyond the observable, always hinting at the greater whole that lies outside our view. Their echoes reach us not in words, but in curves of starlight, in ripples of space-time, in faint mathematical patterns that confirm the unity of the cosmos. To lie under the night sky and think of black holes is to be comforted by paradox. They are terrifying in scale, yet distant enough to pose no threat. They are silent, yet eloquent in their effects. They are final in their horizons, yet temporary in their lifespans. To know them is to accept that the universe does not conform to simple categories of light and dark, of presence and absence. It holds both together, weaving them into a fabric more intricate than we can imagine. Beyond the observable universe, countless black holes continue this weaving, and their unseen presence is a lullaby of balance, reminding us that silence itself can carry meaning. When we drift to sleep with these thoughts, we may find ourselves carried into dreams where stars collapse and space bends like a ribbon of silk. In such dreams, the echoes from the dark beyond are not frightening, but soothing like the deep tones of a distant bell. They remind us that we live in a cosmos that is both knowable and unknowable, both close and infinite. The black holes beyond our horizon will never send us their light, but their presence can still be felt, like a heartbeat in the vast body of the universe. In their quiet way, they assure us that even in the deepest silence, there is always something more. Black holes speak in quiet ways. You cannot watch them shine, so you learn to listen for slower signs that arrive with time. In radio waves, there is a soft hiss like wind across tall grass. In X-rays, there is a flutter like a quickened pulse. In the paths of nearby stars, there are tight curves that refuse to straighten. Each sign is small alone, but together they draw the outline of a place where light itself cannot turn back. The echo is in timing. Gas that drifts inward circles faster as it falls, and its light flickers like a heartbeat finding a quicker pace. That rhythm writes a simple line you can read. Closer means faster, hotter, brighter, until the glow suddenly softens at an unseen edge. That edge is not a wall you could touch. It is a one-way door in time, the event horizon, beyond which messages do not return, and yet whose presence is plain in the dance it forces on everything nearby. When matter gathers near a black hole, it does not drop straight in. It spreads into a thin, bright ring called an accretion disk, the way water in a sink turns to a whirl before it slips away. Friction and magnetic tug in the ring warm the gas until it shines. The inner part grows hottest and glows in high-energy light our eyes cannot see, but our instruments can. Sometimes the disk feeds in fits and starts. The glow rises, steadies, and fades, like a campfire answering when you stir it. Small clumps drift inward and break apart. Their fall leaves tiny beats in the light, quiet, repeating notes that let us measure distance and speed without ever seeing the source. In this way, a black hole that gives no light still tells a patient story about its size, its spin, and the shape of the space wrapped tight around it. Close to a spinning black hole, space-time itself is pulled into a slow whirl. This drawing along is called frame dragging, and the zone where it is strongest is the ergosphere. Think of a lazy river curling around a rock. A leaf dropped near the rock cannot keep still. The current carries it along. In the same way, anything near a spinning black hole must share some of the spin. In theory, a clever path can steal a bit of TH. At spin and take energy away, like a child who times a push on a swing just right. Magnetic fields do something similar on a grander scale. They twist with the spinning space and can launch thin jets from near the poles, narrow beams that run for thousands of light years, like searchlights sweeping the night. The jet is not the hole itself. It is the near-miss glow of matter that came close and then was told to go. The clearest picture we have of a black hole's edge is not a photograph of the hole itself, but of the bright ring just outside, lit by hot gas in the disk. To make such a picture, astronomers link radio dishes across the Earth to act as one planet-sized eye. They gather signals for many hours and combine them to sharpen the blur until the ring appears. It is not crisp like a sunny portrait. It is a fog-soft ring with a darker center, made by the way the hole bends light. From the ring's size, we can read the mass. From how the ring's brightness shifts around the circle, we can sense spin. Even the way the picture flickers in time is a clue to the boiling motion of the gas that paints the ring. Not all signs come from harsh light. Gravity bends even gentle starlight when it passes near mass, like glass that curves a beam. A black hole can turn a single far star into a brief flare by microlensing, making it seem to brighten for days or weeks as the lensing line crosses our view. On larger scales, clusters of galaxies act as big lenses, stretching the shapes of even more distant galaxies into arcs. By reading these arcs, we can weigh the hidden mass and map the dark scaffold where galaxies grow. In this way, a universe full of shadows gives itself away by the way it bends what lies behind it. The map it draws is a web, fine but strong, and black holes sit at many of the knots. How do such giant hearts begin? One path starts with the first stars, heavier than most stars today. When the biggest of them died, they left black holes with the mass of tens or hundreds of suns. Over time, these small seeds merged and fed to grow larger. Another path skips the small seed. In some early clouds where cooling was poor and motion was calm, gas may have collapsed straight into a heavy black hole of 100,000 suns or more. Mergers of young galaxies would bring their holes together, letting them grow by union as well as by meals. The quiet tug of dark matter set the stage by drawing clouds and galaxies into the same rooms, giving seeds and food a place to meet. Smaller black holes are still being born when massive stars end in collapse. Some very heavy stars end in a special kind of blast, where the pressure of light makes matter and antimatter pairs that steal support from the core. The star can tear itself apart with no remnant left. This is called a parainstability supernova. Between the masses that make such blasts and those that collapse quietly, there may be a gap where normal stellar black holes are rare. When we listen to gravitational waves, we can test this idea by hearing which masses are common and which are quiet. The pattern we find is like the outline of a mountain range in mist, peaks and valleys telling us how the last steps of heavy stars play out. Near a black hole, tides are strong. Gravity pulls harder on the near side of an object than on the far side, and the difference can stretch matter into long strands. This stretching has a playful name, spaghettification. It sounds harsh, but it is simply the normal result of curved space. Far from the hole, tides are mild. Near the smallest holes, they are fierce. Near giant holes, a ship could cross the horizon without feeling much at first. Time, too, flows differently. A clock carried by a falling traveler would tick normally for them, while a clock far away would seem to tick faster and faster. To a distant watcher, the traveler's light would redden and fade, slowing near the horizon without ever quite vanishing. Two views, both true, each shaped by where you stand in the curve of space and time. Black holes have temperature and entropy, words we first learned from pots of water and melting ice. A black hole's temperature is very low unless it is tiny, because the radiation it gives off by quantum effects is faint. Its entropy, a measure of how many ways its inside could be arranged, scales with the area of its horizon, not with its volume. This area law is like a whisper that the surface holds the secret book. The total horizon area of all black holes tends to grow, a rule that echoes the second law of thermodynamics. These simple ties between gravity, heat, and information hint that the deep laws of the world speak one language, even if we have only learned a few quiet words so far. But there is a puzzle called the information paradox. If a black hole slowly evaporates by hawking radiation that looks like pure heat, where does the fine detail of what fell in go? Does the universe lose the book's text and keep only its weight? Many scientists think the information is not lost. They suggest it is encoded in subtle patterns in the outgoing light, so soft we have not learned how to read them yet. Others find help in a holographic view of the world, where a full story in a room can be written on its boundary like a careful relief carving. We do not yet know the final answer, but the search itself is gentle proof that even in darkness we can ask clear questions and let time bring clearer replies. Gravitational waves turn the dark into music we can hear. When two black holes orbit each other, they lose energy to waves and spiral closer. The pitch rises as the orbit tightens, making a chirp that climbs and ends in a brief ringdown as the new single hole settles. From the shape of that chirp, we can read the masses and spins of the pair, and we can guess how they met, whether they were two stars born together or strangers brought close in a crowded cluster. As our detectors grow more sensitive, we will hear lighter notes and deeper ones, near and far, until the sky holds not just single songs but a whole weather map of dark meetings across time. In our own galaxy, the center is not violent today, but it breathes. Clouds drift near, some are torn into ribbons, some spark small flares when they brush the inner ring. The stars nearest the heart dance in tight ellipses like fireflies at the center of a small square. Every time a new part of an orbit closes, we refine our measure of the central mass and our test of gravity's law in the strong field. The match between prediction and sight is steady and kind. It tells us that the same rules that teach planets how to move also teach light how to bend, and time how to flow near the darkest places. All of this has meaning for quiet lives. The heavy elements in our blood, the calcium in our teeth, the iron that lets our red cells carry breath, were made in stars and spread by winds and by the deaths of stars. Black holes help guide how and where such stars form over billions of years. By steering gas and by setting the pace of galaxy growth, they act like slow gardeners of the night, trimming here, feeding there, so the cosmic meadow does not rush to a single brief bloom and then fade. The balance they keep is not perfect or planned, but it is enough to give long ages for planets to cool, oceans to settle, and memory to try its first steps. There is also a lesson for the heart. Black holes show that not seeing is not the same as not knowing. We infer, we listen, we measure shadows and echoes, and in doing so we build a good picture of what we cannot touch. The method is humble and patient. It does not demand a face, it asks for a pattern. Life often answers to the same method. We cannot see another person's thoughts, but we can hear their timing, feel their pull, and read the curves they leave in the world. In this way, the study of black holes is a gentle rehearsal for kindness. Beyond the edge of what we can see, black holes must be as common as they are here, perhaps even more so, because there is so much more room for them to live in. The expanding fabric carries many of them forever out of reach, but the rules they obey are not bound to our bubble. When we model their births and their meetings, when we compare maps of old light to the webs of galaxies, we are already having a quiet conversation with that larger unseen share of the cosmos. The answers come back as agreement. The same grammar holds there too. If the future feels long, so does the life of black holes. After the age of bright stars, when most fuel is spent, black holes will remain as the keepers of mass and memory. They will wander in wide orbits, gather slowly, merge from time to time, and very gently warm the dark with their faint quantum breath. The universe will be colder then, but not empty of story. The slow whisper of evaporation is itself a tale, told over spans so long that our words for time feel small. It says that even endings can take their time and still be graceful. To hold all these thoughts at once, to picture the hot ring, the cool jet, the bent light, the slow hum, the far ring seen by a planet-sized eye is to feel a steady peace. The night does not hide a threat when you understand its grammar. It hides rooms beyond your lantern where the same grammar writes longer sentences. You can close your eyes and trust the order of the dark. The echoes from the black beyond are not warnings. They are lullabies in a lower key, humming that the world is larger than the circle your lamp can reach. So take one more slow breath and listen again. The radio hush from a distant core, the quick X-ray flutter from a feeding ring, the gentle stretch of a background galaxy's shape, the rising note of two dark companions about to become one. Each sign adds a brushstroke to a painting of something we will never hold. The picture is not complete and never will be, but it is soothing already. It makes the unknown feel like a wider version of home. And as we settle into sleep, we can let those echoes pass through us, soft and sure, like waves on a night shore, and rest in the thought that the dark beyond is not empty. It is simply farther than light has yet come. When we imagine the far future, we see a universe changed. Stars will have spent their fuel, galaxies will drift apart, and the sky will grow dark except for the faint embers of cooling suns. In that deep future, black holes will remain as the last great structures of gravity, keeping watch over the silence. They will be the anchors of memory, holding mass and bending time, whispering their echoes through gravitational waves and faint radiation. Their voices will grow quieter with ages longer than any age we can name, until at last they too will fade into the gentle fabric of space. But before that distant end, they will shape the universe we know, leaving marks we can trace in the stories of galaxies and in the chemistry of life. Even if unseen, they are part of every breath, every heartbeat, every thought, for the atoms within us were guided by their quiet influence over cosmic time. To think of black holes is to think of balance. They are not destroyers alone, they are also sculptors, trimming galaxies, deciding where stars may bloom and where they must wait. When they flare with jets, they push gas outward, cooling some regions and preventing too many stars from forming at once. This makes galaxies live longer, spreading their fire over billions of years instead of burning themselves out in a single blaze. Without these guardians, galaxies might collapse in chaos, leaving no time for planets to cool or oceans to gather. In this way, black holes are part of the rhythm that sustains life, even though they dwell in silence. It is a strange truth that in the heart of darkness lies a kind of protection, a quiet care that allows the universe to remain fertile. Beyond our observable horizon, countless black holes continue this work. They anchor galaxies we will never see, shape stars that will never light our sky, and perhaps even tend to life we will never meet. Their echoes are everywhere, though faint, traveling through gravity rather than light, shaping the cosmic web with invisible hands. When we map the largest patterns of galaxies, we find filaments and voids, a grand lacework stretched across billions of light years. Black holes, both stellar and supermassive, lie at the knots of this lace, binding it together. Even if we never cross the horizon to witness them directly, we know they are there by the harmony of the pattern. The cosmos speaks softly, but it speaks consistently, and its language tells us that what lies beyond is not chaos but continuation. In the quiet mathematics of physics, black holes remind us that boundaries are not endings but transitions. An event horizon does not erase what falls. It hides it, tucks it away, changes its story into another form. Information may be scrambled, but many believe it is never destroyed. In that belief lies a comfort, that nothing is ever truly lost, only changed beyond recognition. Perhaps our own lives follow the same principle, turning into forms beyond our current sight, leaving echoes in ways we do not yet understand. The science is specific, but the reflection is universal. To listen to the cosmos is to find metaphors for our own small lives, and black holes are among the deepest metaphors we are given. As we lie under the stars, imagining the dark beyond, the fear that once clung to black holes softens into wonder. They are no longer monsters waiting to devour, but guardians keeping time, singers of low notes in the symphony of the cosmos. Their echoes reach us in measured pulses, in flickers of X-rays, in arcs of bent starlight, in the rising chirps of gravitational waves. Each echo is a reminder that we live in a connected whole, where even the darkest regions play their part in sustaining the story. What lies beyond the observable universe is not silence, but more of these echoes, weaving through unseen galaxies, resonating in structures larger than our imagination. We cannot touch them, but we can feel them in the calm assurance that the cosmos is ordered, that its music continues beyond our hearing. And so we let these thoughts become gentle companions in the night. The black holes that fill the universe near and far speak not in threats but in reassurances. They remind us that even in darkness there is pattern, even in silence there is song. To know this is to be at peace with the unknown, to rest in the thought that the universe is larger than our sight but not stranger than our trust. The echoes from the dark beyond will continue long after we are gone, carrying with them the memory of stars, the shaping of galaxies, the whisper of time itself. They will drift outward forever, like lullabies sung to a sleeping child, soft and endless, calming the night. And as we close our eyes, we can let those echoes carry us too. Oh, into sleep, into stillness, into the vast and tender dark. The universe is not still. It breathes, it stretches, it flows like an ocean too vast to see in its entirety. We do not live in a rigid box of space, but in a sea whose tides pull on everything, from galaxies to atoms to the ticking of our own thoughts. These tides of spacetime are not waves of water, but waves of geometry, slow and steady expansions that have been shaping the cosmos since the first instant. To imagine them is to imagine standing at the edge of a vast shore where the sand seems endless, and every grain is carried by a tide you cannot feel with your feet but know with your mind. The galaxies are boats on this tide, drifting apart not because of any motion they make themselves, but because the water beneath them is swelling, carrying them gently outward into greater distance. This quiet drift is the expansion of the universe, the background music of all that exists, the endless tide of space-time itself. When the Big Bang began, it was not an explosion in space, but an expansion of space itself. In those first moments, everything stretched outward faster than the speed of light, a sudden inflation that smoothed and spread the fabric of reality. Afterward, the expansion slowed, but it never ceased. Each second added more distance between every pair of points, like a rising loaf of bread carrying raisins farther apart as it swells. This does not mean galaxies are sailing through space like ships on water. It means the water itself is deepening, the shoreline widening, the stage enlarging beneath the dancers. If you could freeze time and mark the positions of every star and galaxy, then unfreeze it, you would see them slip farther away not by their own choice, but by the growth of the stage they stand on. This growth can be measured, and it has a rhythm. Astronomers call it the Hubble expansion, named after the man who first noticed that distant galaxies all seem to be retreating, their light stretched to red by the space growing between us and them. The farther away a galaxy is, the faster it seems to move from us, not because we are at the center, but because every point is being carried outward at once. Imagine dots on the surface of a balloon. When you blow air inside, the surface stretches and every dot grows farther from every other dot. There is no central dot, no favored place. Each one is part of the whole expansion, each one feeling the tide beneath it, though none can feel the stretch directly. The balloon does not expand into anything. The surface itself grows, just as space itself grows without needing an outside room. Yet the expansion is not uniform in its effects. Locally, gravity holds galaxies together. The Milky Way will not be torn by the tide, nor will the cluster of galaxies near us. Gravity is strong enough on these scales to anchor matter to resist the slow swell. But beyond those anchors, on scales of hundreds of millions of light years, the tide wins and galaxies drift apart. Over time, clusters themselves will thin, galaxies slipping farther until the sky changes shape. Billions of years from now, future observers may look out and see fewer galaxies than we do, their light too faint and stretched to detect. The cosmic ocean will not be empty, but the view will grow lonelier, the tides carrying neighbors forever outward. The cause of the accelerated tide is something we call dark energy, though its name is little more than a placeholder for mystery. Observations of distant supernovae revealed that not only is the universe expanding, it is expanding faster with time, as if some invisible hand were pressing outward on the very fabric. This discovery was not expected. Scientists had thought gravity would slow the expansion, perhaps even reverse it one day. Instead, they found the opposite. The tide grows stronger. Dark energy makes up nearly 70% of the total energy of the cosmos, yet we do not know what it is. It may be the energy of the vacuum itself, a quiet property of space, or it may be something stranger, a field that fills all of reality. Whatever its source, it is the deep tide beneath all tides, the current that carries galaxies apart like driftwood on an unseen sea. There are theories that suggest this expansion will continue forever, stretching the universe into colder and quieter states. Stars will fade, galaxies will fall silent, and only black holes and thin dust will remain, slowly evaporating into emptiness. This vision is called the heat death, a time when all energy is evenly spread and no more work can be done, when the tide has carried everything so far apart that nothing touches, nothing exchanges, nothing changes. Other theories imagine a big rip, where the expansion grows so violent that even atoms are torn apart, every binding force broken by the tide's strength. Yet there are softer possibilities too. Perhaps the expansion will slow, perhaps cycles will repeat, perhaps the tide will turn again. We do not yet know the fate of this ocean. We only know that for now it flows outward, steady and strong. Gravitational waves are ripples within this larger tide. They are the small shivers in space-time, sent when massive bodies like black holes or neutron stars spiral together. These waves are not tides of expansion, but of disturbance, brief vibrations riding on the greater swell. When our detectors catch them, they confirm that space-time is not rigid but fluid, not silent but musical. We are hearing the surf of the cosmic ocean, tiny waves that carry the stories of distant events. Each ripple we catch is an echo from far beyond, telling us that the tide is alive, not still. It is like hearing drops of rain fall on a wide sea. The rain does not drive the tide, but it proves the water is real. What lies beyond the observable horizon is shaped by these tides as much as what lies within. Regions outside our view are also carried away, their galaxies receding faster than light, not because they move so swiftly on their own, but because the space between us and them grows too fast for light to cross. This means there are stories unfolding beyond our reach, songs being sung in chambers we will never enter. The universe is both infinite in possibility and finite in access, and this paradox is softened by the tides themselves. They remind us that our horizon is not a wall, but a moving shoreline. The longer we wait, the more light arrives, and the circle of our knowledge grows, even as the distant sea keeps stretching beyond it. If you close your eyes and imagine floating on an endless sea, carried by gentle currents, you begin to feel the truth of space-time. It is not a stage on which the play of galaxies unfolds, but part of the play itself, swelling and curving, shaping the paths of every actor. We are carried without effort, without choice on this tide. It is the reason why the night sky is full of galaxies that seem to flee, why their light grows redder with distance, why the future will look different from the past. And yet, for all its vastness, this tide is calm. It does not rush us, does not demand our fear. It is slow enough that a human life, 1,000 human lives, pass without noticing its pull. It is only when we measure, when we look far and deep, that we see the tide for what it is, the endless breath of the universe, the slow heartbeat of space-time. To think of these tides is to think of time itself, for time is bound to space, and as the fabric stretches, so too does our understanding of age and distance. Every step forward in time is also a step outward in space, for the two are woven together. The endless tides of space-time remind us that we live not on solid ground, but on a moving current, one that has been flowing since the first light and will continue long after the last star fades. It is a current that needs no boat, no oars, no sails. It carries us all without effort, whispering through the galaxies like a lullaby on the cosmic sea. Let us drift deeper into the idea of tides in a world made of space and time. Picture a lighthouse on a quiet coast. Each night the lantern turns, sending a slow beam that sweeps the sea. If you stand far from shore, the beam touches you later than it touches the cliffs near the light. That delay is how sailors learn distance. In the same way, we read the reach of the universe by watching how light changes on its way to us. As space grows, the crests of light are pulled apart. The color slides toward red, like a song whose notes are drawn longer and lower by the room itself. The redder the light, the longer it has traveled, and the more the sea of space-time has swelled beneath it. By listening to this gentle change, we map the tide. To measure such a subtle thing, we build ladders of understanding. First, we gauge the distance to nearby stars by watching how their positions shift against the far field as Earth moves around the sun, a tiny wobble that repeats each year. Next, we climb to stars that pulse with steady hearts, some bright and dim in rhythms that reveal their true power, and by comparing their true light to their apparent light, we learn how far they are. Higher still, we watch certain supernovae, bright outbursts that follow a reliable curve almost every time. They are beacons you can trust across gulfs of billions of light years. With each rung we reach farther, and with each farther rung we see the same slow stretch. The ladder is not just a tool, it is a promise that the same rules hold as we move outward, that the tide is steady enough to be read. The sky also holds a drumbeat from a time before stars. In the early cosmos, matter and light were bound together like dancers clasping hands. Waves of pressure rolled through that hot mixture, compressing and relaxing it in tides of sound. When the universe cooled and the dancers let go, the waves froze into the very pattern of space. We see their echo today in a F. Ain't preference for galaxies to be separated by a certain distance, like the memory of ripples carved into sand. That ripple is another ruler we can place on the sky. By checking where it falls at different depths of time, we can tell how much the fabric has stretched since the wave first rang. It is as if the ocean left a chalk line on the rocks, and we return each season to see how high the water now rises. Dark energy, the quiet push behind the accelerating tide, does not blow like wind or pool like water. It seems to be a property of space itself, present even where there is no matter, constant like the stillness after a bell has faded. Its push is unimaginably small on human scales, smaller than the weight of a single grain of dust on your hand. Yet across galaxies, stretched over billions of light years, the sum of that tiny shove becomes vast. We do not yet know what dark energy is. It may be the energy of emptiness itself, or it may be something more subtle, a field that sways so slowly we cannot yet hear its motion. While we wait for clarity, we call it by a simple name and study its fingerprints. The tide grows, and we chart its rise the way a gardener quietly watches a tree add rings. Even on this grand sea, there are currents within currents. Galaxies do not only drift with the tide, They also move with local pulls, like leaves caught in side eddies. The Milky Way and Andromeda are being drawn together despite the overall swell, pulled by each other's gravity. Beyond them, great gatherings of galaxies pull their neighbors inward, rivers of motion feeding into the deepest valleys of mass. Our own home flows within a supercluster whose strands guide smaller flows, like streams feeding a wide delta. These motions are reminders that the tide is not flat but textured, carrying hills and hollows, ridges and valleys. The global swell sets the stage, but local gravity writes the finer steps of the dance. Gravity itself can act as a lens to show us these currents. Mass bends the path of light that passes nearby, as ripples on a pond wrinkle the reflection of the moon. When we take careful pictures of distant galaxies, we find their shapes stretched and aligned in faint, ordered ways. This subtle stretching, called weak lensing, tells us about the hidden mass between us and them: stars, gas, and dark matter. Over wide fields, the alignments build into a map of the web that holds galaxies together like dew strung on spider silk. Watching how the strength of lensing changes with distance is like watching a tide in motion. The web looks different when the universe is young, middle-aged, and now. These changes tell us how the swell has carried things apart and how the speed of that swelling has shifted. Even time itself carries the mark of the tide. Some supernovae, when seen across great distances, not only appear dimmer but also fade more slowly, because the stretching of space stretches time as well as light. Their brightening and fading curves are drawn out, like songs played at a slower tempo. Quasars, the bright cores of galaxies, flicker in ways that also feel the pull. And the oldest glow of all, the cosmic microwave background, has cooled and softened as space has grown, its spectrum now a cool whisper of what was once a fiery blaze. The universe has been exhaling for billions of years, and the breath grows longer with age. You might wonder if this cosmic tide pulls at small things like our bodies, our homes, our planet. It does not. The bonds that hold atoms and rocks and planets together are far stronger than the weak push of expansion. Where gravity or electromagnetism binds, the tide is powerless. Our solar system rides the larger swell like a boat that does not notice the slow rise of the sea level, only the nearby waves and winds. That is why we must look far away to sense it, why the night sky itself is our clock and ruler. The tide is invisible at our scale, but across billions of light years it becomes a steady presence, undeniable and calm. There is a puzzle in the details of how fast the tide rises now compared to long ago. Different measurements give slightly different answers. Some look to the early glow and ancient ripples, predicting today's rise. Others look near, using the distance ladder of stars and supernovae to measure the current expansion directly. The two answers do not match perfectly. We treat this not as a failure, but as a question, an invitation to look more closely. Perhaps a rung in the ladder is imperfect, or perhaps the tide has a subtle motion we have not yet understood. Scientists build better instruments, refine methods, and let time smooth the edges. In this way, even disagreement becomes a teacher, pointing us toward new discovery. The largest empty places also bear the tide's mark. Cosmic voids, great stretches with few galaxies, act like cushions that let light slip through more easily. When light crosses such a void, the change in the cosmic swell across. That space leaves a trace in the background glow, a soft thumbprint of acceleration. When light passes dense clusters, the opposite trace appears. These are tiny effects, yet across many voids and clusters they add a quiet voice to the chorus, once again telling us, the tide grows stronger. This may feel far from the daily patterns of life, but the connection is real. The same laws that let space expand also shape atoms, molecules, and light. The bending of light in a glass of water is a local echo of how gravity bends stars. The rhythms that keep our bodies in step with day and night are rooted in cosmic cycles that began long ago. The iron in our blood was born in stars shaped by the cosmic web. The calcium in our bones, the carbon in our breath, each is tied to the tides of spacetime that governed when and where stars ignited. We are not outside this ocean. we are made of its waves. The universe tells us these truths gently. It does not shout, it leaves many small signs, patient and consistent. It lets us build ladders and rulers, listen for faint ripples, map soft distortions. It forgives errors and rewards patience. To study the tide is to learn patience itself, to learn that answers are often spread thin like dew at dawn, seen most clearly when the light grows slowly. Sometimes we wonder how something so vast can be so calm. The answer is scale. The expansion is tiny in small spaces, but across enormous distances the effect builds into a truth that cannot be missed. It is like a loaf of bread swelling in the oven. The space between two raisins close together hardly changes, but across the loaf the swelling is clear. So it is with the universe. Locally, bonds hold strong. Globally, the tide lifts all apart. There are visions of the future that speak of different endings. If dark energy is steady, the tide will go on rising gently until all things are spread thin, a quiet heat death where nothing changes. If it grows stronger, there could be a big rip where even atoms are torn apart. If it reverses, there might be a collapse and a cycle of rebirth. We cannot yet know, but whichever fate is true, all are far beyond human times. The tide we know today is slow and kind, giving us billions of years to learn, to live, to wonder. This tide also teaches us about connection. Just as galaxies weave into webs across emptiness, so human lives weave together across distances. Just as small steady pushes shape the grand universe, so small acts of care shape the rooms we share. The cosmic tide is a metaphor as much as a fact, that what is gentle and patient may be what endures. To live with this knowledge is to feel less rushed, less solitary, more willing to trust the slow rising of things. Step outside tonight and look for a faint galaxy in the dark. It will be only a smudge, hardly more than a whisper of light, but knowing it is a city of suns carried outward by the same tide as you are changes everything. You are connected to its drifting, bound by the same fabric. You can close your eyes and feel it, the endless tide of space-time, carrying all of us together in its quiet, unstoppable breath. To rest with the thought of spacetime's tides is to rest with the thought of eternity. They are not tides like the oceans, pulled by the moon and reversed by the sun, but tides that have been flowing since the first light and will continue long after the last star fades. They do not rush, they do not crash, they do not roar. They are patient, steady, almost silent, carrying galaxies apart the way a slow breath carries mist across a valley. The endless tides of spacetime are not only a physical truth, but also a quiet metaphor, teaching us that change can be both invisible and unstoppable, that time itself is woven into the sea we float upon. In their presence, we are reminded that life is not lived on solid ground, but upon a fabric that stretches beneath us all. If you imagine drifting in a small boat on an infinite sea, you may begin to feel the scale of what the universe is doing. The waves near your boat may matter most to you, the wind, the weather, the shifting currents, but beyond the horizon the sea is rising everywhere at once. You cannot see it, but it is true nonetheless. That is the expansion of the cosmos. It asks no permission, it requires no witness, it is simply the nature of spacetime to grow. Every galaxy is a boat on that sea, carried farther from its neighbors not because it rose away, but because the water beneath it swells. We are in one of those boats, the Milky Way, and while our local companions still sail close, the greater ocean is pulling the farthest lights ever farther until their glow fades into silence. One day in the distant future, billions of years from now, observers in our galaxy may look to the sky and find it strangely empty. The nearest stars will remain, but most galaxies will have slipped beyond visibility, their light stretched too thin to reach. They will not have vanished. Only sailed forever beyond the horizon of light. Those future beings will live in a lonelier sky, one where the great tide has erased the memory of a crowded cosmos. Unless they keep records, they may never know that the universe was once filled with countless galaxies. The tides of spacetime will have hidden them, not by destroying them, but by carrying them outward faster than light can follow. To imagine this is to feel gratitude for the time we live in, when the night sky is still full of reminders of infinity. But even as galaxies drift apart, the universe remains connected. The laws that govern the tides are the same everywhere. Whether in our corner of the cosmos or beyond horizons we can never cross, the same mathematics writes the same story. The constancy of these laws is like the steady beat of a drum, a rhythm that holds the dance together even as the dancers move apart. This rhythm is a comfort, for it tells us that no matter how far we drift, we remain part of the same song. The tides do not break the connection. They only stretch it, weaving us into a fabric that is wider than imagination, but stitched with the same gentle threads. Some scientists wonder whether these tides may one day change their tune. If dark energy is constant, the swell will continue forever, carrying all things apart into cold silence. If it grows stronger, the tide may pull so fiercely that even atoms come undone, a great rip that unravels reality itself. If it weakens or reverses, gravity may one day pull everything back, collapsing the ocean into a single point, ready for another breath, another tide, another universe. Each vision is possible, yet each lies in a future so distant that our small lives are untouched by it. For now, the tide we know is calm, carrying us gently outward, letting stars shine, planets orbit, and life wander under the night sky. There is peace in accepting that the tide will never stop for us. Our lives are moments, sparks in the long story of expansion. We cannot slow it, we cannot feel it, but we can marvel at it. The endless tides of space-time are a reminder that we are part of something vast, that our brief years are set against a backdrop billions of years long and billions of light years wide. They tell us that while our concerns are small, our belonging is infinite. To exist at all is to be carried by the tide, to be woven into the sea that holds galaxies, stars, and the dust that became our bones. When you look at the night sky, you are seeing not only the stars, but also the tide itself. Each redshifted galaxy is a buoy marking the current, each faint smudge of light a testimony that space has stretched since its journey began. To measure them is to listen to the tide's slow song. It is a song that hums in radio waves, flickers in X-ray light, ripples in the microwave glow of the background. It is a song without beginning or end, at least none we can yet see, but one that soothes even in its mystery. To lie under the stars and feel that song is to feel part of the universe, to know that the tides that carry galaxies also carry you, softly, gently, without pause. And so the endless tides of spacetime close their lesson not with urgency but with calm. They remind us that the universe does not need our understanding to continue, but it gives us the gift of glimpses nonetheless. It shows us galaxies slipping away, light stretched into red, echoes of ancient sound frozen into the sky. It offers us enough to know the tide is real, enough to dream of what lies beyond, and enough to rest in the comfort that the ocean of spacetime is steady beneath us. As we drift into sleep, we can let that ocean hold us, rocking us with its patient waves, whispering that we are small but not alone, finite but embraced by infinity, sparks carried on the endless tide of spacetime. Every night the stars scatter their messages across the sky, and every morning the sun drowns them in its brighter flood. Yet not all light finds us. Most of it, in fact, will never arrive. The universe is vast, and though countless stars and galaxies shine, their beams are stretched and swallowed by the swelling of space. Some fade into wavelengths too long for our eyes to see, others are carried away faster than they can travel back. To think of this is to think of the loneliness of light itself, a traveler setting out with hope, but destined never to arrive at its chosen shore. The observable universe is the land we can walk upon, but beyond it lies an ocean of light that sails forever away, never meeting our gaze. This unseen brilliance is part of the cosmos too, a gentle reminder that not all stories reach their listeners, and not all songs reach their ears. Light begins as energy released by atoms in the hearts of stars. When protons collide and fuse, when electrons jump between levels, when matter itself falls inward and heats, photons are born. They leave their sources and travel straight paths through spacetime, wrying the memory of their origins. A single photon from the sun may take only 8 minutes to find Earth, but one from a galaxy billions of light years away may travel for billions of years before arriving. During its journey, space stretches, and with that stretch the photon's wavelength lengthens like a violin string pulled taut then relaxed. It begins as blue or white light, but by the time it reaches us, it may be red or even invisible as radio or microwave. Some light never makes it at all, caught by dust, absorbed by gas, or slowed by the endless expansion. Even now, beams of light are on their way that will never complete the journey, always outrun by the tide of space-time. We live in a sea of invisible light. Our eyes are tuned to only a narrow band, a rainbow so small it is like hearing only one octave of an infinite symphony. Beyond red lies infrared, warmth we can feel on our skin but not see. Beyond that stretch microwaves and radio, carrying the hum of the oldest light, the afterglow of the Big Bang. Beyond violet lies ultraviolet, then X-rays, then gamma rays, fierce messengers born in the hearts of stars and in the dance of black holes. Much of this light is blocked by Earth's air, but in orbit our telescopes open new eyes, revealing skies that never reach us from the ground. And yet even with these tools, much of the cosmos remains hidden. Light that would tell us of galaxies beyond our horizon is forever cut off, not by clouds or mountains, but by the structure of the universe itself. The cosmic horizon is set by time. The universe has existed for about 13.8 billion years, and light moves at a finite speed. That means we can only see what has had time to reach us. But space is expanding, and in the time that light travels, the space between us and its source grows larger. The most distant galaxies we see today are already far farther than their light suggests, carried away by the expansion even as their old beams arrive. Beyond them lies light that left its source but can never catch us. It is like a runner on a track whose finish line retreats faster than they can sprint. No matter how much effort, the gap grows larger and the race is unwinnable. Those photons are still real, still racing outward, but they are lost to us, singing their silent songs into the void. Some of the most profound discoveries in astronomy come from this stretched and fading light. When we study the cosmic microwave background, we are not seeing stars but the glow of the universe itself when it was young, still hot and dense. That light has been stretched into microwaves by the expansion, dimmed to a whisper we can barely detect. And yet in its faint hiss lies the blueprint of everything, the seeds of galaxies and the rhythm of cosmic tides. It is light that reached us, but just barely, balanced at the edge of visibility. Beyond it lies an unlit realm, where photons have not had time to arrive, where information is locked away behind the curtain of space-time. To peer there is impossible, but to imagine it is natural. We wonder what galaxies are being born there, what stars rise and die without ever lending us their glow. Even within the observable universe, much light is hidden. Dust veils it, scattering blue wavelengths and letting only red escape. Gas clouds absorb it, trapping photons for centuries before letting them go. Some light circles endlessly near black holes, never escaping, trapped in spirals of gravity. The night sky we see is thus not the full sky, but a filtered sky, softened and muted by cosmic obstacles. What we see is enough to fill us with wonder, but what we miss may be far greater. It is like hearing a choir from outside a cathedral. The music is rich, but muffled, its details blurred by stone walls. We can still feel its power, but we know that inside, the song is fuller and brighter than what reaches our ears. There is comfort in this incompleteness. The fact that we cannot see everything means that the universe will always hold mysteries. It means there will always be more to imagine, more to wonder about, more to dream upon. If every photon reached us, if every corner of the cosmos were revealed, there might be no space left for curiosity, no dark sky to project our questions upon. Instead, the universe withholds some of its light, and in doing so, it invites us to keep searching, to keep asking, to keep marveling. The unseen light is not a loss. It is a gift, a reminder that reality is larger than our grasp and that our minds can always drift outward beyond what our eyes can see. The thought of light that never reaches us is also a reflection of our own lives. Not all words we speak are heard. Not all gestures we make are noticed. Not all dreams we carry are fulfilled. And yet, like photons, they still exist, still ripple through the fabric of time, even if their destination is not what we intended. Some find their mark years later, when someone finally sees, hears, or remembers. Some never do, but they still leave traces, faint and indirect. The cosmos tells us this through its silent photons. That effort is never wasted, that energy is never lost, that even unseen, every spark contributes to the whole. So we lie beneath the stars, knowing that what we see is only a fraction of what shines. We accept the partial view and find beauty in it. The unseen becomes a space for imagination, the silence a canvas for wonder. Light that never reaches us is still out there, journeying, stretching, fading, but real. It makes the night deeper, the mystery richer, the cosmos wider. And in its absence, we find peace, knowing that the universe is not smaller than we can see, but infinitely larger, infinitely more generous, infinitely more full of light than we will ever know. When astronomers look into the deep sky with their most powerful telescopes, they gather ancient light. A photon that touches a detector tonight may have left its home galaxy more than 10 billion years ago, before Earth had oceans, before life had taken even its earliest breath. And yet, for every photon that completes this immense journey, countless others are lost. Some are bent aside by clouds of gas, their paths turned until they fade into silence. Some are stretched by expansion until they slip beyond the reach of our instruments. Some are carried away by galaxies that recede faster than their light can ever catch up. The night sky is filled not only with the light that arrives, but also with the silent absence of the light that never will. To see the stars is to see the survivors of a much larger, unseen story. The fabric of spacetime acts as both stage and filter for this great play. Light is bent, slowed, stretched, and hidden by the very medium it travels through. Gravity bends it, creating mirages where a single galaxy appears as a ring or arc. Dust scatters it, painting sunsets red and hiding stars within glowing nebulae. Expansion stretches it, pulling each crest farther from the next, changing its color into radio tones our eyes cannot see. These distortions are not failures but messages, telling us not only about the light source but also about the journey it has taken. Each photon is a letter written in a language of bends and shifts, and to read it is to learn about both the sender and the road between. The missing photons are letters lost in the mail, never arriving, but their absence still shapes the story. The most ancient light we know is the cosmic microwave background. Born when the universe was only a few 100,000 years old, it is the afterglow of creation itself. This light began as a fiery blaze, but the expansion of space has stretched it into microwaves, cooling it to just a few degrees above absolute zero. Even this light does not tell the whole story. It is the oldest message we can read, but beyond it lies silence. Earlier times are hidden not because they never happened, but because the universe was too dense for light to travel. Before that glow, the cosmos was a fog of particles and energy, opaque as a cloud. Photons then were trapped, scattered endlessly, never able to travel far. Their voices are lost to us, drowned in the density of their own birth. What we can see begins after the fog lifted. Before it, we must imagine with equations and thought. Yet light is not our only messenger. Where photons fail, other signals step forward. Neutrinos, nearly massless particles, stream through matter without pause, carrying memories from times when the universe was too dense for light. Gravitational waves ripple through spacetime itself, carrying news from collisions and cataclysms that light cannot escape. These messengers hint at what lies beyond our optical sight, filling in the gaps where light falls silent. Still, even with them, there will always be regions that remain unreachable, their signals forever cut off by the boundaries of time and distance. The cosmos ensures that mystery remains, that silence is never entirely banished. It is not a cruelty but a kindness, leaving us room to wonder. When light does arrive, it often arrives incomplete. Dusty galaxies hide their brightest nurseries of stars, letting only faint red glow slip through. Star-forming regions in our own galaxy are cloaked, their blue light blocked, their secrets revealed only in infrared by special telescopes. Even the Milky Way itself hides much of its structure behind its thick band of dust, a curtain drawn across half the sky. To look beyond, we must change the way we see, opening new eyes in radio, in infrared, in X-ray. With each new window, a little more of the hidden light is revealed. And yet, even with all windows open, there is more beyond light that never reaches us, signals swallowed in the silence between stars. The expansion of the universe is the greatest thief of light. As galaxies race away, the light they send is stretched thinner and thinner until its energy becomes so low that it fades in to invisibility. One day, far in the future, much of the light we see now will be gone, stretched beyond all detection. Future astronomers may live in a universe that appears darker and emptier than ours, not because the galaxies are gone, but because their light can no longer reach. The sky will seem smaller, even though the cosmos is larger. This vision is not sorrowful but humbling. It tells us that we live in a rare age, when the universe is bright with galaxies and filled with light that still has time to arrive. To look at the night sky today is to stand at a special moment, when the universe is most generous with its radiance. In thinking of light that never reaches us, we also think of time. Every photon carries history, a memory of its source. But those photons we will never see carry histories too, lost not in meaning but in access. Somewhere beyond our horizon, stars rise and fall, supernovae explode, galaxies dance, and black holes merge, all sending light that will never touch us. These events are real, their brilliance pouring outward, but we are cut off by distance and by expansion. They are parallel worlds to ours, part of the same universe yet beyond our experience. To imagine them is to imagine listening through a wall. You cannot hear the words, but you know the voices are there. The silence is not emptiness but separation, a gentle line between what we know and what we dream. This truth can feel heavy, but it can also feel freeing. We do not need to see everything to know that it exists. The cosmos has given us enough to recognize the pattern, to sense the order. We know that galaxies beyond our sight are real, that they follow the same laws, that they shine with stars and perhaps even life. The light we will never see is still out there, still real, still part of the fabric of all things. It does not matter that it cannot reach us. What matters is that it exists, that the story continues beyond the edges of our vision. Our place is not to know everything, but to know enough and to let the rest inspire us with wonder. So as we stand beneath the stars, let us think of the light that does not arrive. Let us imagine the galaxies just beyond our horizon, the photons forever on their way but never to complete the trip. Let us accept that the universe is larger than our senses, that there are truths we will never touch, and that this is not a loss but a gift. The night sky is not empty where it is dark. It is full of unseen brilliance, hidden not because it is gone, but because it lies beyond reach. And in that hiddenness, the universe leaves us a place to dream, a place to wonder, a place to rest in the knowledge that reality will always be greater than what we can hold. To rest beneath the stars is to be touched by light that has traveled longer than all of human history. Yet for every star whose glow finds us, there are countless more whose radiance never will. The universe is expanding, and with that expansion grows the gap between us and most of the light ever created. Some of it will always race outward, forever beyond our reach, fading into longer and longer waves until it disappears into silence. This is the great irony of the cosmos, that it shines more than we can ever see, that it tells stories we will never read. And yet in that absence there is a strange peace. The missing light does not diminish the universe. It enlarges it, reminding us that what we hold is never the whole, and that beauty is not lessened by what lies unseen. Even the light that does reach us carries silence within it. A star's glow may be steady, but in truth it is a filtered signal, thinned by dust, bent by gravity, stretched by time. By the time it touches our eyes, it has already lost companions along the way, photons scattered or swallowed. What we receive is always partial, a chorus missing many of its voices, and yet the song is still full. To listen to a symphony from beyond the walls of a hall is to miss some notes, but still feel the power of the music. The cosmos works in this way, offering us a softened version of its brilliance, enough to fill us with wonder while leaving space for imagination. The silence inside the light is as important as the brightness itself. The fact that not all light arrives means that the universe is always larger than our knowing. It ensures that mystery remains, that questions never run dry. Without this, perhaps curiosity itself would fade and the night sky would lose its power to inspire. The unseen light is like unopened letters, sealed forever but known to exist, making us wonder what messages they carry. They are reminders that knowledge is not complete and that imagination is part of our way of belonging to the cosmos. The photons that never reach us still travel, still exist, still sing their invisible songs, even if no one will ever hear them. Their journeys are not wasted. They are part of the great unfolding, part of the fullness of reality. There are parallels between this cosmic truth and our small human lives. Just as much of the universe's light never reaches us, so much of our own effort goes unseen. Words unsaid, kindness unnoticed, dreams left incomplete. These are our own unseen photons, but they are not wasted. They ripple into the world in ways we cannot measure, shaping it quietly. A gesture may be forgotten by the one who made it, yet remembered by the one who received it years later. A thought may never become action, yet still shape a heart. The cosmos teaches us that absence is not emptiness, that what is unseen may still have meaning. The photons lost to space are no less real than those that arrive, and so too the unseen parts of our lives carry weight. In the far future, light will become rarer still. Galaxies will slip beyond the cosmic horizon, their light stretched so thin it cannot cross the growing space. The sky will darken, not because stars are gone, but because their messages are silenced by expansion. Future beings may live under skies almost empty, unaware of the richness that once was. But even then, light will exist, unseen but real, continuing outward forever. And perhaps that is the most profound truth, that reality does not depend on our seeing. The cosmos does not shrink when it hides, it only grows in depth. To live with this knowledge is to accept our limits with grace, to understand that being part of the story is enough, even if we cannot read every line. When we close our eyes beneath the stars, we can imagine the light that never reaches us as a soft ocean, stretching beyond our horizon. We can imagine its waves carrying tales of galaxies unborn, stars not yet lit, lives not yet lived. We will never see them, but they exist nonetheless, adding to the fullness of being. The night sky is both a window and a curtain, letting some light through while keeping most hidden. Both parts matter. The window gives us wonder, the curtain gives us mystery. Together they create the balance that makes the cosmos a place not only to study, but also to dream. And so light that never reaches us becomes not a sorrow but a lullaby. It reminds us that infinity is not something to be conquered, but something to be embraced. It asks us to rest in the partial view we have, knowing that it is enough, that the unseen makes the seen more precious. Every photon that touches us is a gift. Every star we glimpse a reminder of countless others beyond sight. The unseen light is still there, stretching outward into eternity, and we are part of its story even if we never see it. In that thought lies calm, and in that calm lies sleep, as we let the missing light cradle us with its endless, silent glow. There is a thought that drifts softly through the mind when one looks at the night sky. What if the universe has no end? What if beyond the horizon of our vision, beyond the faintest galaxies we can glimpse, the cosmos stretches without boundary, without edge, repeating its patterns endlessly? This thought is the dream of infinite worlds, a vision where the stars do not stop but continue forever, where galaxies blossom like flowers without number, where every possible configuration of matter might unfold somewhere in the endless tapestry. To imagine this is not to demand certainty, but to allow the mind to float outward, carried by the same tides that carry galaxies. Infinity is not a number but a presence, a sense of boundlessness that soothes and humbles. It whispers that whatever we can see is only a fraction of what exists, that our small place belongs to a much greater whole. The observable universe is vast beyond comprehension, yet it is still finite. We measure it at around 93 billion light-years across, a sphere filled with hundreds of billions of galaxies, each with hundreds of billions of stars. And yet there is no reason to think the universe stops there. That is simply the portion we can see, limited by the time light has had to travel since the beginning. Beyond that lies more, perhaps infinitely more. If space is truly unbounded, then the galaxies continue without end, repeating their filaments and clusters far past the edges of our sight. Somewhere beyond, there may be regions that look almost exactly like ours, with suns and planets arranged in ways eerily familiar. Somewhere even farther, there may be variations so strange we could not imagine them. The dream of infinite worlds is both repetition and novelty, endless in both directions. The idea of infinity has always touched the human imagination. Ancient philosophers wondered whether the stars were infinite in number, whether the cosmos stretched forever. Modern science adds new texture to that wonder. Inflationary theory, which describes the rapid swelling of the universe in its earliest instant, suggests that our observable bubble may be just one of many, each formed in different patches of inflating space. If this picture is true, then the cosmos is not only infinite, but also diverse, filled with domains where the constants of physics may differ, where the balance of forces may vary. Some regions may sparkle with galaxies like ours, while others remain dark and barren. The infinite does not promise sameness, it promises fullness, every possibility spread somewhere across the vastness. And yet infinity is not required for mystery. Even a universe finite but unbounded, like the surface of a sphere, offers endless journeys without edge. You could travel forever and never find a border, only loops and curves that eventually return you to where you began. In such a cosmos, the dream of infinite worlds becomes a dream of endless paths, a reassurance that there is no wall, no final boundary, only the comfort of continuation. Whether finite or infinite, the universe is large enough to hold more than we will ever see, large enough to make our imagination feel both humbled and liberated. The stars above are not the full story, they are only the opening chapter. If infinite worlds exist, then the implications stretch beyond astronomy into the heart of meaning itself. In an infinite cosmos, every arrangement of matter must repeat. Somewhere, another Earth may circle another sun, with mountains and seas and skies that mirror our own. Somewhere, perhaps, another version of you sits under a sky wondering the same thoughts. This is not fantasy, but the natural result of infinity. Given endless combinations, every possible pattern must emerge and emerge again. The thought can be dizzying, but it can also be calming. It suggests that our lives, brief as they are, may be part of a vast choir of variations, each singing the same themes in slightly different notes. The universe is not a single performance, but a symphony played on infinite instruments. The dream of infinite worlds also stirs questions of life beyond Earth. If stars are countless, and if planets are countless around them, then surely the chance of life increases. Already, our instruments have found thousands of exoplanets, worlds orbiting distant suns. Some are rocky like Earth, some are gas giants, some orbit in regions where water may flow. And if this is what we find in just our small neighborhood, what might lie beyond? Infinite stars mean infinite chances, infinite experiments in chemistry, infinite opportunities for memory and thought to arise. Perhaps most remain barren, but even if a small fraction bloom, the number of living worlds would be beyond all reckoning. The cosmos could be a vast garden where life is rare in any one patch but abundant across the whole. Yet the infinite is not only about what exists, but also about what we cannot know. Our horizon limits us, and we will never see beyond it. No telescope, no instrument, no signal can bridge the gap where expansion carries galaxies away faster than light. The dream of infinite worlds must remain a dream, an imaginative act, but that does not make it less real. It lives in the equations, in the patterns we observe, in the logic of infinity itself. It lives in the quiet human need to look outward and to wonder. Even without proof, the dream comforts us, reminding us that the universe is not small, not stingy, not confined. It is generous, overflowing, spilling outward into spaces we will never touch. To dream of infinite worlds is to feel held by abundance. When we lie under the night sky, we see stars scattered like seeds on dark soil. Each one is a possibility, a reminder that the universe is fertile beyond our knowing. Beyond those seeds lie more seeds, and beyond those still more. The fields never end. The dream of infinite worlds is the dream of a garden without fences, without borders, without limit. And though we cannot walk through all its paths, we can rest in the knowledge that they exist, that the cosmos is wider than any measure, fuller than any count. It is not emptiness that surrounds us, but fullness too vast for us to hold. To imagine this is to be soothed by immensity, to be comforted by the thought that we are part of an infinity of stories, each one unfolding quietly under the endless sky. Infinity is not a thing we can hold in our hands, nor a number we can write down, but a feeling that stretches the mind until it trembles. To think of infinite worlds is to think of possibility without end, where every corner of space holds another corner beyond it, and every cluster of galaxies opens into more. The dream of infinity has always whispered to us. Philosophers in ancient times wondered whether the stars went on forever, and poets imagined skies with no boundary, seas with no shore. Science, with its telescopes and equations, does not end this dream but deepens it. The larger and older the universe proves to be, the more clearly we see that our visible patch is not all there is. The observable universe is a window, not a wall, and through it we glimpse not the whole but the suggestion of endlessness. A cosmology gives us reasons to believe that the universe beyond our horizon is much the same as the part we see. The background glow of the cosmos, smooth and even across the sky, suggests that the same rules apply everywhere. The distribution of galaxies we map shows no preferred edge, no sign of a border. Space appears flat and unbounded as far as our measurements can tell. If that flatness continues beyond our sight, then the cosmos stretches on without end. It is like standing on a vast plain where the land looks level to every horizon. You cannot see the whole plain, but the portion you do see suggests that it goes on, farther than you will ever walk. Infinity is not proven, but it is invited by the evidence, welcomed by the patterns we observe. One of the most fascinating ideas tied to infinite worlds is that of repetition. If the universe is infinite and matter arranges itself in only so many ways, then eventually patterns must repeat. Somewhere impossibly far away, there could be another Earth orbiting another sun with mountains, seas, and skies identical to ours. Somewhere perhaps another you looks up at the stars and wonders the same question: what lies beyond? This is not fantasy but a natural conclusion of infinity, a logical outcome of endless variation on a finite set of possibilities. The distances to these repetitions would be unimaginable, far greater than any number we could count, but their existence would be assured. To dream of infinite worlds is to dream of echoes, reflections scattered across the vastness, each one unique and yet familiar. But infinity is not only repetition, it is also diversity. The arrangement of galaxies, stars, and planets need not be the same in every corner. Some regions might hold galaxies denser and brighter than ours, blazing clusters where stars crowd together in fiery abundance. Others might stretch into emptier voids, dark reaches where few suns burn at all. If inflation truly produced a multiverse, then whole cosmic domains could differ in their fundamental rules. One region might hold slightly different strengths of gravity, another might host stars that live longer or shorter than ours, another might never allow life to arise. The dream of infinite worlds is not a single story repeated, but a library of stories, every possible tale unfolding somewhere, every possible melody played on the strings of space and time. The thought of infinite life arises naturally from this dream. If stars are countless, and if planets circle them as commonly as dust circles a lamp in the night, then surely life has bloomed elsewhere. Already we know of thousands of exoplanets, worlds orbiting distant suns, and many lie in gentle zones where water could flow. If such discoveries are possible in the thin slice of space near us, then what of the infinite? In an endless universe, life must appear again and again, scattered like sparks across a dark field. Some flames burn briefly and fade, others grow into great fires of thought and memory. We may never meet them, never share the same sky, but their existence is written into the logic of abundance. The dream of infinite worlds is also the dream of infinite lives, infinite stories, infinite wonders. Even as we imagine this immensity, we must accept that we will never see it. Our horizon is fixed by time and no telescope can look beyond it. The galaxies beyond are not less real, but they are beyond reach. Infinity, then, is not a fact we can measure, but a truth we can feel. It is a reminder that our knowledge is always partial, our vision always bounded. Yet this partial view does not weaken the dream, it strengthens it. For to know that the universe is larger than we can hold is to be humbled, and in that humility is peace. The cosmos keeps its mysteries not to frustrate us, but to invite us into wonder. The unseen is as necessary as the seen, the silence as necessary as the song. Infinity also teaches us patience. The universe does not rush, it unfolds across billions of years. Stars form, burn, and die in cycles too vast for our lives to encompass. Galaxies collide and merge across eons, reshaping themselves slowly. The tides of spacetime stretch on, carrying everything outward without hurry. To live in such a universe is to live in a single breath of a much longer story. Our part is small, but it is real. We are the eyes through which the universe sees itself, the mind through which infinity dreams. The dream of infinite worlds is not separate from us. It is within us, carried in the atoms of our bones, in the iron from old stars, in the carbon spun by dying suns. We are made of infinity's dust, and in that sense we are infinite too. Perhaps this is why infinity does not frighten but comforts. It says that the universe is too large for despair, too full for emptiness, too abundant for loss to be final. For every star that dies, another is born. For every silence, another song plays somewhere beyond hearing. For every world that fades, another. Our world awakens in light. The dream of infinite worlds is the dream of continuity, of fullness that cannot be exhausted. We may never travel to those distant realms, but we are connected to them by the simple fact of belonging to the same cosmos. They are part of our story even if we never touch them, and we are part of theirs. And so we let the dream carry us. We lie beneath the stars and imagine galaxies without number, worlds without end, lives without limit. We close our eyes and picture an ocean without shore, a field without edge, a sky without boundary. It is not an answer but a song, not a conclusion but an invitation. The dream of infinite worlds is the dream of being held in something larger than ourselves, something we cannot exhaust, something we can rest within. It is the dream of infinity itself, flowing through us like a quiet tide, reminding us that we are both small and vast, both fleeting and eternal, both local and universal. To dream of infinite worlds is to find peace in the immensity, to let the endlessness cradle us as gently as the night sky. To let the mind wander across infinite worlds is to drift into a dream that has no borders. It is to accept that the cosmos may be without end, and that within such immensity every possibility must find a home. When we picture infinity, we often imagine stars without number, galaxies stretching beyond sight, horizons that keep retreating no matter how far we chase them. But infinity is also quieter than that. It is the gentle truth that whatever is possible is real somewhere, that no dream is too strange to exist in the endless quilt of reality. In the dream of infinite worlds, every star is answered by another, every world by countless companions, every life by echoes beyond counting. It is not a cold thought, but a tender one, for it tells us that we are not isolated in the dark, but part of an endless fabric. If the universe is infinite, then the patterns of matter must repeat, like motifs in a tapestry. Somewhere unimaginably distant, there could be a galaxy shaped exactly like the Milky Way, with planets like Earth and perhaps even beings like us. Somewhere farther still, there may be worlds that diverge, carrying landscapes and skies we cannot imagine. The repetition and the novelty are both truths of infinity, sameness spread endlessly, and variation woven into every turn. This paradox is soothing, for it means that our lives are not solitary, nor are they swallowed in monotony. They are part of a choir of infinite voices, some singing our song, others singing new ones. The dream of infinite worlds is thus not repetition alone, but abundance, an overflowing fountain of existence. Life itself is part of this abundance. If the stars are countless, and if planets gather as commonly as dew on grass, then life must arise again and again. Even if it is rare in each place, infinity guarantees that it is abundant across the whole. Somewhere life is taking its first breath under alien suns, molecules learning to dance in self-replication. Somewhere life has flourished into forests and oceans, filling skies with wings and seas with currents of thought. Somewhere life has grown old, civilizations rising and fading into dust. We are one story among these infinite stories, one flower in an endless meadow. To imagine this is not to diminish our place, but to enrich it, to know that our existence is part of something vaster and more fertile than we can ever see. The infinite also asks us to reconsider time. In a boundless cosmos, every moment is echoed, every future is already written somewhere else, every past continues in another corner. Time itself may be local, unfolding differently in other domains, but infinity ensures that all variations exist. Somewhere the universe is younger, its stars still forming. Somewhere it is older, its galaxies dimming. Somewhere it is at a different stage entirely, ruled by different balances of force. The dream of infinite worlds is not limited to space. It is also a dream of infinite times, infinite histories, infinite futures. It tells us that reality is not one line but countless lines, braided together into a fabric too wide for us to follow. There are those who worry that such infinity makes our lives meaningless, that if every possibility is repeated endlessly, our choices lose weight. But the opposite is true. Meaning is not taken away by repetition, it is affirmed by it. Each version of us, each echo of Earth, is unique in its own immediacy. The fact that infinite other versions may exist does not make this one less real. It makes it more precious, for it tells us that meaning is not scarce, not limited, but abundant. Our lives matter not because they are singular, but because they are part of the infinite chorus. A song sung once may be beautiful, but a song sung endlessly becomes eternal. So it is with us. The dream of infinite worlds does not strip away significance, it multiplies it until every spark is luminous. Perhaps the greatest gift of infinity is humility. It reminds us that our knowledge is always incomplete, that our vision is always partial, that our role is always small compared to the whole. Yet this smallness is not despair. It is liberation, the release from the burden of being central, the comfort of being part of something larger. To walk beneath the stars knowing they may stretch on forever is to walk in the company of infinity, to feel held by a presence too vast to comprehend. Our lives, short as they are, become part of this vastness, threads in a fabric that cannot be unraveled. We are not alone, not fragile, not temporary. We are infinite in belonging, infinite in connection, infinite in meaning. And so the dream of infinite worlds becomes more than science, more than speculation. It becomes a way of resting in the cosmos, a lullaby of abundance. It says that whatever is lost is not truly gone, for infinity ensures it exists somewhere. It says that whatever we imagine is not fantasy alone, but possibility written into the endless sky. It says that our place, though tiny, is never solitary, for infinity surrounds us with echoes, with variations, with companions we will never meet but can still feel. The unseen worlds are still real, the unlit stars still shine, the unheard songs still play. We are part of a universe too generous to be exhausted, too full to be measured, too infinite to be contained. To close one's eyes beneath the night sky is to join this dream. The stars above are only a hint, only a fraction of the abundance that lies beyond. The dark between them is not emptiness but fullness, not silence but hidden song. Light that never reaches us, worlds we will never see, lives we will never know, all are part of the infinite whole. And in that whole we find rest. The dream of infinite worlds is not an answer but a comfort, not a solution but a song. It tells us that we belong to something endless, and that even when our small lights fade, the great light of the cosmos continues. To dream of infinite worlds is to accept our place with peace, to let the thought of infinity cradle us like a tide, and to fall asleep knowing that the stars above are only the beginning of the story.